Hello beautiful ladies, welcome back to my channel. Here at The Curated Feminine, I cover all things feminine essence essentially. So if you want to learn more about how to connect with your feminine energy, to lead a more confident and stylish life where you build healthier relationships and learn to love yourself more, then this channel is for you. Make sure you click the subscribe button and also the little notification bell. That's the best way to actually stay informed of new videos as they come up. So the last few videos I've spoken a lot about what masculine versus feminine energy is. If you are a more feminine woman, what issues might you encounter when you're not being your best self? And same for men, if you're a more masculine man, what issues might you encounter if you're not being your best self? So there is something called wounded feminine energy. So it's essentially like the more immature version of feminine energy. It's someone that might seem like they're quite feminine. They're certainly not presenting with a lot of masculine go-get-em energy, but there's just something off. They struggle to really build the relationships that they want. They struggle to find confidence in themselves, and they struggle to attract the right people into their lives. So if you feel like you struggle with those things, or somebody that you love does, this video is for you. So first we're going to go through several signs that you or someone that you love might be struggling with wounded feminine energy, and then we'll talk about some actual plausible ways to heal feminine energy. It is not something that you heal overnight, it's a process, but once we get your thoughts ticking about how to drop into mature feminine energy versus wounded feminine energy, you'll see a massive difference. So the first sign of wounded feminine energy is that you seek external validation. And what this means is, rather than your confidence and self-esteem coming from within, it tends to come from everywhere but you. So when you feel like you are performing well, when others thank you for giving them something, when your parents are proud of you for something, when you earn that degree, God knows I know that feeling, then that's what lights up your day, rather than compliment and validation externally just being like a cherry on top of the sundae that is you. Rather than being a cherry on top, it's like you need that external validation. If you're not getting that high from other people complimenting you and validating your existence, you feel empty, and that's a massive sign of wounded feminine energy. Another way that you might seek external validation is by consistently handing your power over to others. So the woman that never knows what looks good on her body, the woman that doesn't know what to choose when she's presented with different choices, the woman that can't seem to make a specific decision and instead asks others, that's a woman giving her power away, and that's a woman that's not actually getting her validation from within. She's seeking validation externally and placing her power externally. The second sign that you might be high in wounded feminine energy is when you lack intuition. Intuition is part of the very essence of femininity. I did a masterclass recently on femininity in the workforce, and to me, that's the number one benefit, the biggest benefit women can actually serve in the workplace, is when you're connected with your intuition, you can actually make very quick decisions that don't entirely seem logical. You're not quite sure how you landed at that decision, but it makes sense and it works out. That's part of this feminine intuition. It's like dropping into our feelings and what our body feels like to quickly understand what the best decision to make is. And a woman that's high in wounded feminine energy really lacks that intuition. And because she's also not high in masculine energy, she has difficulty making decisions altogether. And it's because she's lacking in intuition. She doesn't quite know where the decision-making process is going to come from. And so again, similar to seeking external validation before, she outsources that power to others. I don't know what to wear to that event. I don't know what to eat. My body feels this way. I can't figure out why. All of those comments, when they add up and they're made over and over again, are a sign that you're lacking in intuition. The third sign that you might be high in wounded feminine energy is that you have an anxious attachment style. So for those of you that know a bit about attachment styles, they're really fascinating. It's something that we study a lot in childhood to understand the relationship between children and their caregivers. We now know that many of the decisions that you make and the way that you interact with the world as an adult is rooted in childhood and the way that you learn to interact with the world when you were a child. Someone that has a secure attachment style had a positive relationship with their parents where they were both confident enough to venture out into the world while also knowing they can come back to their parents and get the help that they need, parents or caregivers depending. They're generally better at communication and better at soothing themselves when issues come up. They're also better at asking for help. Someone with an avoidant attachment style will have difficulty expressing feelings and really tends to push things down. The third is anxious attachment style, and this presents in the form of clinginess and a fear of abandonment. And the way that this often comes up is either from an adult abandoning you as a child, or even a family death, where you don't feel that level of security that those that you need in life, those that you look up to, will actually be there for you later on. And then the last attachment style is disorganized attachment style, where things are so unpredictable that a child could be presenting with any of those at any one time. Point being, anxious attachment style is most often presented in those that have wounded feminine energy. So it means that with those that you spend time with, you might be the one that speaks more often than others. You might be the one that constantly needs reassurance about your decisions, or your viewpoint in life, or your confidence. You might feel quite clingy and have a need for those to consistently be there for you, even if you can't fully be there for them. So all of that is how the anxious attachment style presents in adulthood, and it's often intertwined with wounded feminine energy. And there are many other signs of wounded feminine energy, but I don't have time to go through all of them today. So the last sign that I'll go through is sign number 4, which is a victim mindset. So if you think about the locus of control, and if you've never researched that before, seen that before, it's really interesting. You have what you can control, right? So if you think of it like a bullseye target of what you can control. Bigger than that, you have what you can influence. And then bigger than that, you have things that are completely outside of your control. You can't do anything about them. So someone who is in their healthy feminine energy, someone who's in their mature feminine, will know that within the locus of control, there are things that she can actually either control or influence, things that she actually has power over. And outside of that, there's nothing that she can do. So she focuses instead on the things that she can actually do something about. A woman with a victim mindset will feel like everything's outside of her control. She'll consistently feel like life is happening to her. And this manifests itself in comments like, oh, I was late because there was traffic, there was nothing I can do about it, or oh, these bad things just keep happening to me, or I have bad luck. All of that is a sign that you feel like life is happening to you instead of life happening for you. And that's a massive sign of victimhood mindset. Now, it's important to remember that all of us have some level of wounded feminine energy. That is simply the state of being human. Human beings are not perfect. We are full of flaws. We all do things that don't completely make sense. We all operate in the world in ways that aren't always the most efficient or the most helpful or the most healthy. That's simply the state of being human. The goal is to reduce those issues as much as possible, because the less wounded feminine energy you have, the deeper your relationships will be. The more you can love yourself, the more you can grow. So rather than looking at your past and any wounded feminine energy that you might have had with this negative light, thinking, oh, you're useless, can't even make decisions for yourself, and now you find out it's because you have issues, what's the matter with you? This is not the way to go about it. This will increase your wounded feminine energy. The best way to think about it is, you didn't have the information before, and you do now. Isn't that beautiful? You can now do something about it. So here's how to heal wounded feminine energy. The first is to be open and willing. And the reason I say that is, if you are quite high in wounded feminine energy, you are, like we said before, likely lacking in feminine intuition, and also lacking in the ability to really validate yourself internally. And oftentimes what that means is when you go through change, you've been beating up on yourself in your mind for so long, you've been telling yourself you're not good enough for so long, that the very process of beginning to be open to change is hard, because it means you have to go through the death of the ego. The ego is wanting to tell you, no, you've got this together, you're fine, and telling your ego that no, change must occur, and I don't like the way that I'm operating in the world now, and I want to change it. That can be very difficult. It can be difficult to not self-spiral into self-doubt and tell yourself that you were never good enough at anything in the first place. But if you can keep the mindset of being open and willing and wanting to change, rather than letting your ego kind of shut the door on the changes that you're trying to make to protect you, that is how you will start to heal in the first place. The second is to watch what you consume. Now, it's very interesting that this has gotten a bit of a bad rap, because in a lot of religions, you are limited with what you are allowed to watch. But the very concept of being careful about what you consume is extremely important. This is a skill, if you're a mother, that you should be teaching your children as well. The same way that you are what you eat, your health will be directly benefited by the food that you put into your mouth or deteriorated by it. It's the same with what you put into your brain. When you are listening to songs that tell you that, when you're listening to songs that promote the victimhood mindset in the first place, which is a lot of the songs on the radio right now, it takes 2 seconds to flip on the radio to hear women and men both talking about how life is too hard and you want the boyfriend back even though he was abusive, and this and that and on and on. Same with TV shows. A lot of TV shows are consistently telling you to seek external validation. Same with commercials. Buy this, do that, and then you'll be good enough, because you're not good enough as you are. You must be careful about the content that you consume. You should go through your Instagram feed and completely clear it out and only follow those that are either teaching you information that you find fascinating or genuinely bringing you joy. Same with the books that you read and the Netflix TV series or any other kind of TV series that you watch. You must be very careful about what you watch, especially as you're trying to step more into healthy feminine energy. As you become more maturely feminine, you'll be able to discern what's good and what's not. But in the beginning, it'll be easy for your opinion to be swayed because you're lacking that intuition. So do a clear out and do yourself a favor first before you actually start this journey. Third is to choose your friends wisely. You need to choose friends that will actually hold you accountable. I'm reading a book right now called The Happy Wives Club, and it's really interesting because the biggest takeaway that I've had from it so far is when the author talks about how she was going to this couples group and her husband were quite happy, and everyone else in the group was speaking negatively about the relationships and venting to each other. And they found that when they were going out, she was suddenly starting to pick little fights with him, and she couldn't figure out where that energy was coming from. And they realized it's because human beings are very susceptible to groupthink. We're very susceptible to everybody else is thinking this way and doing things this way, so why aren't I? Perhaps I should follow in the footsteps. And when you have friends that allow you to to be a victim, to vent about things that you shouldn't be venting about, to vent without seeking solutions, to self-spiral into doubt. When you have friends that encourage that and do that with you, you end up in this kind of downward spiral of negativity, and that will increase your wounded feminine energy. When you have friends that hold you accountable, friends that you trust, that are wise, that say, no, there's a better way to do things, or no, I'm not going to let you vent without a solution. When you have friends that do that for you, that comes from a place of absolute love. This is one of the quickest ways to decrease your wounded feminine energy. The fourth and the deepest, most important thing I want to talk about for healing your wounded feminine energy is to learn how to love yourself despite the fact that you are imperfect. The reason this is important is because it's a change that takes place completely from the inside out. Because think about it, if you felt worthy of acceptance, if you felt whole and complete the way that you were now, there would be no room for wounded feminine energy. You wouldn't be handing a power over to others. You wouldn't be engaging in a victimhood mindset. You wouldn't feel like life is coming at you rather than happening for you. You would feel like a strong and complete woman. And from that, your natural, healthy feminine energy would grow and flow. So I have a beautiful mentor that taught me how to do this, and it's absolutely changed my life. So when I'm having a rough day, the way that I think about it is this. So let's say I'm having a day where maybe I'm higher in some wounded feminine energy. Maybe I'm feeling all upset about myself, or a decision that I made a couple of years ago when I didn't know how to handle my emotions as well as I do now. And the way that I go about it is I'll say, well, thank you, unconfident Bethany, for reaching out for love a couple of years ago the only way you knew how. You did a great job, but I'm going to take the reins now. Or thank you, overachiever Bethany, for working so hard to get a degree. It completely burnt us out. It was absolutely exhausting, but you were doing the best that you could with the information that you had at the time. Being able to separate the different aspects of yourself and the different things that your different flaws were trying to accomplish is one of the best ways to actually love yourself, because you are only doing the best that you can. That's all we are as human beings. And the moment you're able to fully accept yourself as whole and complete and worthy simply because you exist is the moment that wounded feminine energy will start to cycle out of you naturally. There is no room for being wounded. There is no room for being a victim, for being unconfident, for outsourcing your power, for not knowing how to make your own decisions. There's no room for that when you're able to fully accept yourself for who you are, when you're able to fully love yourself for who you are. And as you do this, it will naturally increase your healthy feminine energy, and you'll find yourself loving others better. You'll find your relationships growing and maturing and deepening. And all of this happens simply by accepting that it's okay to be imperfect. You are worthy despite your flaws. It's magic. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope that was insightful for you. If you have any questions about any of this, message me on Instagram. It's at The Curated Feminine. I love speaking about these things. This is my life's work. This is my passion. This is what I enjoy the most. So if you have questions, reach out to me. I would love to help. Also, I am currently offering one-on-one coaching services, and I have 2 slots left for the next month, where we will do 4 45-minute sessions and go through how to increase your healthy feminine energy in motherhood, your career, your relationships, and life in general. It's $333 Australian dollars for 4 sessions. So if that's of interest, reach out to me because they will get snapped up really quickly and we can see if we're a good match and if we would work well together. Thank you so much for watching today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.